top 5 animals in Chicago's sewer system that you can actually find in your toilet. What if I told you the city of Chicago spent over $14 million on rodent control last year? And the plumbers who actually crawl around underneath those streets, they'll tell you straight up that those critters living in the sewer system ain't staying down there, they're coming up. Up through 4,400 miles of pipes, most of it over 100 years old, through cracked clay and busted cast iron, right into the one piece of your house where you feel the most exposed, your toilet. And the folks who sell you that nice porcelain throne don't exactly slap a warning sticker on the box telling you, wildlife may appear. Here's what most people miss. This ain't just about rats. Everybody already knows about the damn rats, but wait until you hear about number 2 on this list. A semi-aquatic rodent out of Chicago River that holds its breath for 15 minutes and ends up in your basement commode during a rainstorm. Holy shit. And number 1 is the animal that's been terrorizing Chicago bathrooms for decades. The thing that can collapse its own skeleton like a folding chair and swim straight up through the water into your toilet bowl while you asleep. Don't slip on the toilet. It cuts off your circulation. That one's gonna go and ruin your morning routine forever whenever it happens. So here's 5 animals in the Chicago sewer system that can absolutely show up in your toilet. Right from the unsettling to the absolutely nightmare. Number 5, opossum. I'm not kidding. They don't come up. Well, here you go. I need you to understand something right off the bat. A possum can't swim up your toilet pipe. A possum is about as graceful in the water as your uncle is trying to climb out of an inner tube after 6 beers on the lake. They're terrible swimmers, just like your uncle. They can't fight any kind of water flow at all, like your uncle. So how in the world does a possum end up in a toilet bowl in Chicago? It comes in from the top. Every house with the indoor plumbing has a vent stack. That's the open pipe sticking up through the roof that regulates the air pressure in your drain lines so everything flows right. Usually 2 or 3 inch pipe, it's not too big around, but it's big enough, the 3 inches. And it's in a lot older Chicago homes, there's no protective mesh screen over the top of it, just a wide open hole on your roof. Now, possums are excellent climbers. They're on the roofs all the time hunting for food and getting into stuff that they got no business getting into. If a curious or a startled possum crawls into the open vent, well, gravity handles the rest of it. That pipe turns into a water slide at a county fair, except there's no pool waiting at the bottom. There's your toilet bowl at the bottom. It drops them straight down into the water trap at the base of the line, and that's how you wind up making eye contact with a possum at 3 o'clock in the morning. The field reports back this up. Possums are extremely common in residential and urban areas over Chicago and the suburbs. Wildlife removal companies around there deal with them constantly, pulling them out of attics, basements, wall cavities, and toilets. They're opportunist scavengers, and they'll wander into a storm sewer looking for insects, discarded waste, so that they're already comfortable poking around places that they don't belong in. Here's how to actually use this. Go outside, look at your roof, and find your plumbing vent pipe. If you don't have a mesh screen or a cap on it, run to the hardware store and spend $4 on one. That's the whole fix. $4 keeps the confused marsupial out of your bathroom toilet. This one gets overlooked because everybody focuses on what's coming up from below. Nobody's thinking about what might be coming in from above. But if you own an older home in Chicago, that open vent pipe is basically a welcome mat sitting up on your roof. And a possum will happily accept the invitation. Number 4, raccoons. Before anybody panics, let me be clear about one thing. A full-grown raccoon can't fit through a standard 3 or 4 inch residential toilet pipe. Their body's just too big. They weigh like 40 pounds. So if you're in a regular single-story home with modern plumbing, a raccoon in your toilet ain't something that you need to lose any sleep over. But Chicago ain't all single-family homes with modern plumbing, is it? Nope. Chicago's full of older apartment complexes and commercial buildings running large diameter cast iron main stacks that got installed back when your great-grandmother was still in grade school. And that's where raccoons found their way in. Raccoons drop into the big main street sewers through storm grates all the time. They go down there hunting for shelter and food, and then sometimes they get stuck in the grates on the way in, which is a whole separate headache. But once a raccoon is inside that main sewer line, if a commercial builder or an older apartment has a broken sewer cleanout cap or a badly degraded main stack down in that basement, that raccoon can crawl right on in. From there, they climb the vertical pipe, because the raccoon can climb just about anything, and they come out on a large commercial grade toilet or a wide drain line that doesn't really have a standard narrow trap. Every pest control operator who's worked in the older Chicago neighborhood knows this is a pattern. It takes a massive structural failure to happen, but those failures are all over the city, where 75% of the sewer system is still combined pipe laid down between the late 1800s and the mid 1900s. The numbers don't lie. Here's actually the way to fix this. If you manage or own a commercial property or an older multi-unit building, go check your sewer cleanout caps and make sure they're intact and properly sealed. If you got a large diameter cast iron stack in the basement that's visibly falling apart, get a plumber out there and scope it with a camera. That inspection costs a whole lot less than dealing with a raccoon in a second floor bathroom when your tenant, got little scratch marks on their ass. Now, this gets overlooked because people assume raccoons are strictly an attic or in a trash can problem. Nobody's thinking about sewer access points on commercial properties, and building managers rarely inspect what they can't see. Meanwhile, that raccoon just found a highway into the building that's probably been sitting wide open for years. Number 3, mice. If you're starting to see the pattern here, if you're realizing that the Chicago's 100-year sewer system is basically a highway structure for animals you don't want in your house, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps with the reach of the folks that actually need to know what's going on underneath your city. And also, forgive me on these clothes here. I'm coming off the set of The Hidden Lens, and this is what I wear there. I did change the hat. So let's get back to the mice. Now, a mouse can't swim through water traps in your toilet. It don't have the lung capacity of the body mass to power through a flooded pipe in the way a rat can. But a mouse can fit through a hole the size of a dime, which is about the diameter of a pencil, number 2 pencil. And that little talent opens up routes the bigger animals can't touch. Mice get into the plumbing through dry vents and unused basement floor drains and cracked sewer laterals. Remember those clay tile laterals? The ones that are 85 to 115 years old out in a lot of Chicago bungalow neighborhoods? Mice are slipping through the cracks in those things every single day. Here's where the toilet part comes in though. If you got a toilet that barely gets used, maybe a guest bathroom in the basement nobody touches for months, the water in that bowl can partly evaporate. And once the water still drops, the pipe is basically a dry tunnel and a mouse can just walk on through. The other route is even simpler, and that's the same roof vent that we talked about with Opossum. If a mouse falls down an open vent stack, and the mouse is an incredible climber who can end up on roofs constantly, they tumble right down into the plumbing and land in the nearest fixture. Usually it's the toilet, because the toilet drain has the widest diameter and no cover blocking the way. The numbers don't lie. 2 rodents can turn into 15,000 in a single year. Chicago has logged over 50,000 rat and rodent complaints in a single year, and the mouse population is riding along with it. They're everywhere in the urban core, working the warmth and the food scraps down in those underground drainage networks. Here's how to actually use this. Flush your toilet. Flush your toilet in your house at least once a week. Even the one nobody uses, keep the water seal intact and seal any visible cracks around your basement floor drains with a bead of silicone. A mouse will find a gap you didn't even know existed and treat it like it's your front door. Mice get overlooked in the toilet conversation because everyone's so locked in on rats, but mice are running a totally different playbook. The dry route instead of the wet route, and it works just as well in the city where the underground infrastructure has more cracks than a truck windshield on a gravel road. Number 2, muskrats. People don't even think about muskrats when they think about Chicago. They think about rats and pigeons and maybe a coyote on the evening news, but muskrats are semi-aquatic rodents that live along the Chicago River. And they're incredible swimmers that can stay underwater for up to 15 minutes. 15 full minutes underwater on one single breath. That's better than Mike Phelps, the swimmer dude that won the Olympics. Now, Chicago is a city that was literally built on a swamp. They had to jack the entire city up several feet back in the 1800s just to get proper drainage. The Chicago River was reversed in 1900 to push sewage away from Lake Michigan instead of dumping it in there. And today, 75% of the city still runs on a combined sewer system, meaning stormwater, wastewater share the same pipes. During heavy rain, massive stormwater overflow gates open to keep the whole system from backing up. Those gates connect straight to the Chicago River. That's how a muskrat gets in. A muskrat living in the river slips into the sewer system through those overflow gates during a storm. Once it's inside, if it takes the wrong turn into a wide commercial or a main residential line, its natural instinct is to swim up towards air pockets. In older Chicago buildings with those wide antique clay drainage pipes, a small muskrat could ride the flow all the way up to a first floor or a basement toilet. Every wildlife professional working in the waterway adjacent to the neighborhoods in Chicago has watched this happen. The infrastructure practically invites it. If you got a semi-aquatic animal carrying 15 minutes of breath swimming through pipes that got laid down when the horses were still the main way people got around, something's gonna end up somewhere it shouldn't be. Here's how to actually use this. If you live in a Chicago building near the river, the Chicago River, or North Shore Channel, or any of the connected waterways, and your building is older with original clay or cast iron drainage, you're sitting in the highest risk zone. Talk to a plumber about putting in backwater valve on your sewer lateral. That valve stops flow from coming back up the pipe. It keeps a confused muskrat where it belongs. This one gets overlooked because most people have no idea muskrats even live in the Chicago River. They're down there, and during every major rainstorm, those overflow gates swing wide, and whatever's swimming in that river has a straight shot into the pipe network that connects to your building. You probably live closer to the river than you think. Number 1, the Norway rats. This is the animal that actually does it routinely. It's not a structural failure, not a freak accident, not because it fell down a pipe from a roof. The Norway rat swims straight up through the active water in your toilet on purpose. And it's got the biological equipment to pull it off every single time. Here's what makes this animal a plumbing nightmare. A Norway rat can hold its breath underwater for up to 3 minutes, and it can paddle with all 4 legs while steering with its tail like it's a rudder. They don't have rigid collarbones the way you and I do, so its whole shoulder area is flexible and collapse into a squeeze through, and it can squeeze through tight spots. Its rib cage is hinged, which lets it compress its skeleton in the way that an umbrella folds shut. Anywhere a rat's head can fit, the rest of the body can go too. A hole the size of a quarter is all it needs. The route is straightforward and horrifying. The rat starts out in the municipal sewer. It finds your home's lateral connection, swims or climbs up the main drain line, works its way over to your toilet pipe, dives straight through the water, through that filled P-trap that's supposed to be a barrier, and pops up right there in the toilet bowl beside your derriere. The whole trip only takes a couple minutes. Chicago held the number 1 spot on Oregon's rattiest cities for the last 10 straight years from 2015 to 2024. Los Angeles in 2025 finally knocked them down to number 2. So thank you, Los Angeles. But that don't really mean the rats packed up and left. It just means they got more rats now in Los Angeles. The city's mayor set aside $14.85 million for the Bureau of Rodent Control. Over 50,000 rodent complaints got filed by residents in a single year. And last year, the Wicker Park and Bucktown neighborhoods rolled out a pilot program using rat birth control in baited boxes behind the commercial corridors because the problem had gotten so bad. So I guess they got these little things I really don't know about rat birth control. Hopefully it works from the females, because how are you gonna get a male rat to put one of those things on before he does what he's gonna do? I don't think they're gonna do that. Anyway, like one Chicago sewer expert put it, sewers are an expressway for rats, and a broken sewer is like an off-ramp straight to your home. Every plumber who's ever scoped a lateral line in the older Chicago neighborhoods will back this up. Those clay tile sewer laterals in the bungalow belts are between 85 and 115 years old. They're cracked, root invaded, practically rolling out the red carpet. Here's how to actually use this though. Find out where your house's main drain runs along your property and look for burrows in the area, because those burrows can link right up to holes in the drain pipe. You can hire a plumber to scope the line with a video camera, and that'll show you exactly what shape your laterals are in. If you want a physical barrier, a plumber can install a rat guard, which is a one-way flap. It's a valve inside the pipe that lets waste go. It flows out, but it won't let anything come back up or swim back up. The Norway rat gets overlooked not because people don't know about it, it's because people assume it won't happen to them. In a city where the sewer infrastructure is 100 years old and 2 rodents can turn into 15,000 a year, it ain't really a question of if, it's a question of when you're gonna hear that splash at 2 o'clock in the morning and have to decide whether you're brave enough to go lift that lid. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and give this video a hype. And I'll see you in the next episode of The Untamed Lens. Now, if you're still here, The Hidden Lens is my sister channel. It's about true crime. You can check it out too. They'll be collaborating on this video.